Okay, so this is the second episode of the gaming PC at all price points. And I'm going to be covering the $300 price point in this one. But I'm actually going to be doing this a bit differently. So in the previous video, I had already picked out the parts before I made the video, and then I just told you about them. It was a scripted video. This one I'm going to try something different. I don't have a script, and I'm going to be showing you the process of actually picking the parts and telling you about them as I pick them. So yeah, I think it will be more interesting. We'll see. So yeah, let's just get started. This is a $300 PC, so we are going to have to cut corners in quite a lot of places in order to get that really low price point. So yeah, let's get started first by picking our CPU. Oh, and by the way, if you're new here, basically the rules of this is I use all new parts and prices from the USA. So yeah, anyway, let's pick our platform for our CPU. And I'm going to actually go for an APU again with the $300 PC because I don't think at this price point with all new parts we can afford a decent discrete graphics card. So I will be looking for an APU, and I think for that we have to go with AMD. So just set the manufacturer to AMD. I'm looking at something like maybe the 3200G or 3400G. I think 3200G is $100 and the 3400G is $140. Okay. The 3200G is right here, it's $99, and the 3400G is $145. I'm gonna first try and go with the 3400G, and we'll see if we need to cut back when we're finished with the system. Then I'll take it back to a 3200G. For now, I'm just gonna pick the 3400G. About the 3400G, it is a pretty good processor. It's 4 cores, 8 threads. It uses the Zen Plus architecture actually, so even though it's called the 3400G, it's more like the Ryzen 2000 series. It uses 12nm Zen Plus and not 7nm Zen 2. Yeah, the base clock is 3.7 GHz, probably the most important spec for gaming. That's quite a high base clock, and it can boost up to 4.2. And most importantly, it has Radeon Vega 11 graphics, which I'd say is about the performance of a GT 1030, give or take. So yeah, we get all this, including a free stock fan, the Wraith Spire. All this for $150, so that's great. That's our CPU for now. We'll see if we have to cut back on it, but for now, we're picking the 3400G. Next, the motherboard. I'm gonna go with probably the cheapest option we can get, and that is, okay, right now we see the MSI A320, sorry, the ASUS Prime A320. Any other good options? We have a BioStar motherboard, but I'm sticking to ASRock, ASUS, MSI, and Gigabyte. Those are the 4 big motherboard manufacturers. Let's see. We have an ASRock one. It's also A320. What's the cheapest B450 one? Here, the ASRock B450. Is it worth it going with a B450 board? Let's try it. The ASRock B450 HDB. Let's actually look at the features of this board before we pick it. B450 does support overclocking. That means it's micro ATX. I would not expect to get an ATX motherboard at this price point. However, that will mean that it has less expansion slots and less DIMM slots. So, and you'll probably have to buy a new case if you get a new motherboard, unless you build this in an ATX case. It supports up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, 2 memory slots. Now, I would ideally like to get 4, but at this price point it seems quite difficult. What's the cheapest one with 4? It's the Gigabyte B450 one, okay. That's $75 though. That's let's see. Okay, this does have, of course, a PCIe X16 slot for our graphics card, which we don't have, but you could definitely upgrade this build and add a graphics card in the future. The I/O on this motherboard also looks okay. It's got 3 audio jacks, some USB 3 ports. That looks like over here, and also looks like Ethernet. Also is that VGA, yeah, PS2 as well. Yeah, we are going to be using that VGA port to plug in, or HDMI. I think there's also HDMI on this board because we don't have a graphics card. Our video outputs are going to be coming from our motherboard and not our graphics card. So yeah, the ASRock motherboard, it's $72. How much is the gigabyte one with 4 DIMM slots? Oh, that's 75. Yeah, I think we're gonna go with the gigabyte one. It's B450 as well. What is the compatibility? Some AMD B450 chip. Okay, so it's basically saying you might need to do a BIOS update in order to get the motherboard to support the processor. I'll link a tutorial on how to do that. Okay, next let's pick our memory. And ideally, for this price point, I want 2 sticks of 4 gigabytes. So giving us 8 gigabytes in total. And for the speed, I want it at least 3000 megahertz since we are going with Ryzen. Let's see, what is the cheapest one we have? Some Corsair Vengeance LPX, okay. What's the cheapest 3200 speed? It's this Crucial kit. Okay, we also have a G.Skill Ripjaws, which actually has a heat spreader. I'm gonna go with the Ripjaws. It's 3200 megahertz, it's dual channel, and it's got a heat spreader, so it does not look like Optiplex RAM. So yeah, let's pick the G.Skill. Next we need some storage. I really want a SSD in this build, so I'm going to look for the cheapest 250 gigabyte SSD I can find. Okay, we have right away an ADATA SU635 units, 240 gigabytes, $26. Okay, 256 for $27. Silicon Power, that's a reputable manufacturer. I think, yeah, let's go with this Silicon Power drive. It's quite reasonably priced. It's an SSD. It's only 256 gigabytes, and yes, I acknowledge that's less than what I had in my $200 gaming PC, but the difference is that was a spitting hard drive, and this is a SSD. If you really wanted to, you could probably get a 1 terabyte hard drive or even a 500 gigabyte one later. So a 500 gigabyte one would be like $30, and a 1 terabyte Seagate one probably is $50. So yeah, if you really want more storage, you can get it for in the future. Okay, we're already at $286, leaving us with $14 for a case and power supply. We're gonna have to cut back, obviously, on some things because we do not want to put some sketchy power supply in this thing. So yeah, definitely never skimp on your power supply. Let's pick the cheapest one that is from a manufacturer I know. Okay, look, right away we have EVGA for $36.50, and we do want ATX so it will fit in our case. So there's also a Thermaltake Smart. Okay, these are 400 watts, and this is 430 watts. We're gonna need maximum 200 watts, I think. What's our wattage? 142. Yeah, we'll be fine with this 400 watt unit. It doesn't have black cables or even any 80 plus rating, but it's gonna have to do for our purposes. It's also got some pretty good reviews, 4 stars. Okay, we're already over budget. You know what that means. We're going to cut back our motherboard. We might have to cut back on our CPU as well. We'll see. Okay, ASUS Prime. Let's pick that. What does that bring us to? 308, and we still need a case. Let's pick our case, and then we'll go back to the 3200G. Well, let's sort by lowest, because we need the lowest price case. Okay, we have some DIY PC cases. I've heard some pretty bad things about these. I've never used one of these, but they're generally not very well praised. Even though on here they seem to have pretty okay reviews. But just from looking at this thing, you see there's not much airflow, and I'm sure it's going to be a pretty terrible case to build in. Let's see, what's the cheapest sort of okay looking case that has some decent airflow? This is, no. Okay, this actually looks pretty okay, but I don't know. Let's look, what is this? The CiT F3. Now, I actually like the design aesthetic on this case. Yeah, and it does have some, is that mesh? Yeah. And a side panel. Let's look at some more pictures. Okay, we have, yeah, that's the side panel, and I'm sure it's acrylic. You're not getting tempered glass at this price point, but at least you're getting a side panel for, what is this, $31. So there's the hard drive cage. No power supply shroud, but I guess that's fine. You do have some holes for cable management. And okay, this is the front I/O. We have, it looks like 2 USB 2 ports, some audio jacks, a USB 3 port, crucially, and SD card reader, and also a micro SD card reader. Okay, interesting. That's better, but that's better than not having it. And over here on the back, we also have some ventilation. Okay, great. What is this? $33. Yep, let's pick this case. The CiT F3. Okay, how much are we at? $341. Okay, let's sacrifice on our 3400G and bring it to a 3200G. That's gonna save us $45, bringing us to $296. Right on budget. In fact, a little lower, but I did go a little over budget in my last episode, so I guess this will make up for it or something. I don't know. As for the upgrades on this thing, if you had $20 more, I would definitely go for the Gigabyte B450 motherboard that we talked about earlier that we had to cut back, because it has 4 DIMM slots, giving you more RAM upgradability down the line, maybe at 16 gigabytes. Also, it's B450, meaning that you can overclock your CPU if that's something you wish to do. If you have another $30, get the motherboard upgrade and then also get a $30 hard drive. For $30, you can probably get a 500 gigabyte hard drive, maybe something like a Seagate Barracuda, or any hard drive that is not an enterprise one. So yeah, that was my $300 gaming PC system video. Tell me if you liked it in the comments, talk with me on Twitter, or join my subreddit. Also, please like or subscribe, because it makes me really happy, and it only takes you like a second to do, so just do it. But yeah.